Thank you for listening to this worship podcast of St. Andrew Lutheran Church. We hope this recording provides you with a moment of God's grace wherever this finds you. Know that you're welcome to join us in person for worship in Eden Prairie on Sunday mornings at 9 or 10:30. And also know that any contribution you make will bolster St. Andrew's ministry and outreach, including our podcasting directly to you. You can do so online. Welcome and God's blessings to you.
A reading this morning from Paul's letter to the Philippians, the 4th chapter. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. As for the things that you have learned and received and heard and noticed in me, do them, and the God of peace will be with you. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. And a gospel reading from the Gospel according to Matthew, the 5th chapter. You are the salt of the earth, but if salt has lost its taste, how can its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything, but is thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A city built on a hill cannot be hid. People do not light a lamp and put it under a bushel basket. Rather, they put it on a lampstand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Good morning. Welcome to St. Andrew Lutheran Church here this morning. Those of you here in the sanctuary, those joining online, it is really good to be together here this Sunday morning. It has been a week and it has been a weekend for us who live here in the Twin Cities. We had time here yesterday afternoon open here in the sanctuary for a number of hours for people to come and be in their home church, in their sanctuary. And there were lots of emotions, lots of circumstances that we are thinking and rumbling around in our heads and in our hearts. The death of Alex Preddy, chief among them, among the other events that we are experiencing. I find myself this week behaving like a chaplain who listens and prays with and supports people where they are as we wonder and as we worry. I am, and we are, and I need to acknowledge the heaviness in the air that Pastor Matthew mentioned as we gathered here for worship. The struggle to know how to respond or what to say to this person or that. I acknowledge that we're maybe not sleeping very well, perhaps distracted. Maybe we're stressed, we're worried, or all of the above at the same time. It's really hard for people to see escalating violence that has to end. And harmful rhetoric leads us down so many wrong roads. People around me and around you, here in this community at St. Andrew, on staff here at St. Andrew, and who I've been talking to, are living with a fear that's hard to have them express. Hard to feel that with them, to empathize with them. And it's also hard to see the end in a way too. So it is good to see you this morning. because we at St. Andrew Lutheran Church need to be together in this sanctuary, and not just on Sunday morning at 9 o'clock, but any time, for what it is that we hope and believe in God's goodness and God's grace, God's peace that surpasses understanding, and that God will somehow, some way take us by the hand and lead us along the way. I am grateful for words of wisdom and faith that is expressed within these walls by the faithful people that make up this community. One of which was a beautiful surprise once again from our friend and worship music leader, Tim Graff, this past week when he shared. Where are you, Tim? Where are you seated? Are you in the sanctuary? Maybe he's preparing for something else at the moment. He'd shared with me and us, a group of us together, something that his wife Julie says that I found profound. He said, if there is anything unsettled or not right, Julie lives by, his wife, it's because God is not done working yet. For me, it was an encapsulation of the word that love wins always, that love always wins the way of Jesus, and the way of love always wins. And as echoes of 1 Corinthians 13, that love bears, believes, hopes, and endures all things. That favorite passage that we know from the writing of Paul. I was grateful when people would come alongside me this week and remind me of what Mr. Rogers said many years ago: look for the helpers in the world. Look for the helpers, the people who help and show love and compassion and mercy, the Presbyterian minister that he was. As people of faith, God is made visible in helpers. And my encouragement for us today as we live in community together is don't just look for helpers, but be helpers. Helpers with one another. Practice empathy and compassion and love, and reach out and be present. And unfortunately, I'm using something that I have said to St. Andrew before because of our city and circumstances that we have been through in the past. When I said many months ago, I think it's also really helpful for me and for all of us to think local and to be local. The people that are in this sanctuary, you're my community. That's what I know. That's what I have ownership in and relationships with. People where we've shared in my 13 years now at St. Andrew, ways to do life together through circumstances. And so thinking locally is one of my prayers as I think about what to do about these present circumstances. And I think St. Andrew Lutheran Church is a strong church. We are a strong and we need a strong church community, a local community where we can be faithful people together. Last spring, your staff got together in a retreat format and started wondering, how do we enhance our mission statement? And institutionally, we came up with the line that you've gotten to know here over the course of the past several months. And it's the phrase, you matter, you belong, and we care. That happened over the summer. And it's something that we continue to live into. And I still think, and will continue to think, that this statement is a unifier. It's a common good. It's a statement of faith. You matter, you belong, and we care. It addresses the belovedness that God has for all people, and that care and compassion is how we rally up around one another and support one another. And so we will continue to rally around what it means to believe and think that everybody matters, everybody belongs, and we need to care for everybody as the center of who we are. So join me in that process as we live into that and ongoing in this day and time. But how about 3 stories of hope and community? How about some stories from our congregation that can flavor us in different ways? I planned on sharing these stories already, even before the events of this week, but they're still so apropos because this community is a community and hope is lived out through these walls and in this community. So my first story here is a shout out to Sydney Casey and the Mason family. I will probably call Sydney Mason because I think of her as Sydney Mason, not by her married name. She is part of the Jim and Kathy Mason family, and Sydney is married to Chris, and they have little Cal now as well, Callahan. And Sydney was telling me in a conversation this week as I called her, I was remembering a conversation I had with her a couple of weeks ago in the fellowship hall on a Wednesday night when we do our community meals. And she said to me, as we were talking in the fellowship hall, I did not realize how good I've had it. So, rewinding a bit, she began to be part of our early learning program here at St. Andrew 31 years ago. And when she was enrolled in early learning, she was only 6 weeks old. And I have a picture here from one of her teachers here, and this is her, and not, of course, 6 weeks old. I'm surprising you, Sydney, with this, who's here in the sanctuary. But Melinda Dehe is her teacher back then, 31 years ago, in early learning. And so this is where she has been. And so Sydney was raised here. The choir, Sunday school, confirmation, worked in early learning for 8 years as well, was on staff at Spirit in the Pines and has participated in the young adult group at St. Andrew Lutheran Church. You name it, she's been involved in it. This has been her home place. And just on the 23rd of November, little Cal was baptized here with Pastor Matthew over there as she was completing some circles and some stories around around what it means to be part of this congregation. And sure enough, there's a picture of Melinda Dehe, her first teacher, along with Cal resting well with Sydney here just a few weeks ago. Sydney said, I didn't realize how good I have it. All the stages of life are covered, she said at St. Andrew. My parents got so much easier nights because of meals, services that they went to and received, the relationships, the friendships, the place to call home, and it's truly amazing. And now I get a chance to participate it with Chris and Cal myself. It's a story of generational hope and community, a place of belonging that stretches generations, 3 generations now in the Mason family. Isn't it good to hear a story of hope and community? Second story. Pastor Matthew and I share this story here from 3 weeks ago when our shared friend Prudvi came up to both of us separately on a Sunday morning. And he wanted to express to Pastor Matthew and me his profound gratitude for how St. Andrew has been a temporary home for him as he has been studying at Concordia over in St. Paul in the IT department. And this is Prudvi. Prithvi sat over on that side by the sound booth. I can see him seated there now. And I remember one of the first times that I met Prithvi, he wanted to introduce himself. And the way he introduced himself to me out in the narthex between worship services was to get on his knees, as he is raised and doing in India, and receive a blessing from me as pastor. And then he got up and moved about his day, and we connected in at various levels, me with him, and also Pastor Matthew. Such a kind and gentle and faithful man. But I wasn't the only one who received the joy of Prudvi's warmth. There's also Linda Wallenberg, who is also here at St. Andrew. Here's a picture that she shared of our mutual friend. And there was a time when it wouldn't work for Prudvi to come over to her house for Thanksgiving, and instead Prudvi made it over for Christmas time. And he told me on the phone, Linda, was the first time that he's ever been in an American home. Also, about a year and a half ago, Prudvi was introduced to another member of our congregation, Rich Grunhagen, who teaches confirmation here also on Wednesday mornings. Rich helps people in transitions with jobs or if they're looking for jobs. Rich and Prudvi connected quickly. Rich helped him with his resume, helped him set up his calendar, helped him send PDFs, had Zoom conversations to get to know him better about how to interview and so forth. And the reason why Prudvi walked up to Matthew and me 3 weeks ago was to say, I'm leaving for my job in New York. Optum signed on. He's going out to New York. He lives in Jersey City and commutes to Middleton. And he said to me this week when I talked to him, I can't forget my time in Minnesota and St. Andrew, so peaceful and so hopeful. It gave me so much. End quote. Prudvi. Stories of hope and community is what we need today. I also am grateful for a third story as well. This comes from Arlene Flancher, who's in our children's ministry program, and she was hustling and bustling because she really wants kids to be in service in the community and to know the needs in the community. So at the breakfast at Bethlehem in early December through Sunday school all the way through December, and with the help of confirmation small groups, she assembled birthday bags for prop. Birthday bags. What are birthday bags? Well, they are a bag that contains a cake mix, frosting, candles, paper plates, and a can of Sprite in case no eggs or oil are available for families at prop. Because every child needs to be special on their birthday. And so 87 birthday bags were pulled together by these groups of children at St. Andrew and brought over to prop, which I think is 87 smiles. Everyone needs their day to be special. And that was part of the process for the birthday bags. Now, another reason why this was in my heart, the story of Arlene and children's ministry, is the fact that it was my birthday this week as well, as I turned yet another year. It's one of those birthdays that doesn't need to be mentioned. We're all good. You know what I mean. But it was on Tuesday this past week, and it's been a busy week, lots going on. But I actually thought of this a story of how it is so good to have a good birthday, because it was the opportunity for me to duck out of the office for an hour and a half and take our son Liam to the airport for his 4-month-long study abroad in Berlin. For me, for Dad, that is absolutely the very best birthday present I could possibly get. For me to see my son going out and getting going out in the world. I was tracking back in my mind many years ago when my brother and I were leaving the U.S. On a trip to Ethiopia and flying through Amsterdam. My dad was coming home from leading a trip to Rwanda, also flying through Amsterdam, and we did not have a chance to connect on our flight schedules. I bought a cup of coffee in Amsterdam, and there was a member of Trinity Lutheran Church in Lancaster in front of me in line, and she said, "Your father is right downstairs." So Dad had a chance to walk my brother and me to the airplane as we were flying to Addis Ababa, and I'll never forget the look on his eyes because he was saying, "Go get him. Now it's your turn." So, friends, as I say goodbye to Liam and said, "You go, now it's your turn," That's also where I find myself here today as I think about how we are the salt of the earth. Jesus calls us salt in the earth. We are the salt of the earth, and the Sermon on the Mount, which speaks volumes in times like this to me and perhaps to you as well. It's Jesus' call to get out and do our thing, get out and do what we do best as the people of God. Now, on the one hand, salt is a preserver. It preserves things for long periods of time. And one of the things that I am confident in is that God will preserve us. God will come alongside God's people and preserve us. But also, we are to preserve, friends, kindness and love and peace in our world. Let's preserve it. Hold on to it tight. Make sure that it's lived in our world in true and meaningful ways. Practice empathy and peace. Reach out. Listen hard. These things need to be preserved in our world today, now more than ever. But salt also flavors the food that we eat. We all know what it's like to reach for the salt shaker on the table when we want to give it a little bit of something. We all know that a meal that doesn't have salt is not very memorable. But we also know that what's memorable in life are stories of community and of hope, that people remember it. When we hear hopeful stories, when we hear community alive and in action, when we hear that we are about the task of being the caring and loving community of Christ that we are called to be, when we're connected as a community guided by God and all of God's good promises, these things stick into the hearts and minds of people. And it's the way we're salt in the world, to do that for others so that they might know of love and peace, and even joy. So these are some things that, my friends, we have to do. They're commands of us to do these things in the world in which we live, the world that needs light and love and peace and hope and healing. St. Andrew, you, as the people of God, are the healers in our world. God will preserve. God will salt. We will preserve and we will salt as well, and help the world see goodness and love, and peace. It's how we build, how we preserve, and how the kingdom of God is made real for us and for all those with whom we interact. So may God bless us and keep us today and always. In Jesus' name. Thank you for listening to this worship podcast of St. Andrew Lutheran Church. We hope that this recording provides you with a moment of God's grace wherever this finds you. Any contribution you make to St. Andrew will bolster our ministry and outreach, including our podcasting directly to you. You can do so online. Thank you for joining us for this podcast, and I wish you every blessing from Christ today.